Hey friends, today I'm going to be showing you how to make this super easy DIY off the shoulder bell sleeve dress. Let's get started. For this dress I am using a neoprene fabric that's super stretchy, and I have it folded in half the long way from selvage to selvage. I'm using an old t-shirt that I'm cinching in at the waist with my fingers, and I have the sleeves tucked in. I'm going to take the top portion from the top back collar and folding it down to the top front collar, and that will give me the off the shoulder illusion. Now I'm going to take the scissors and I am going to cut around the side using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to do the same thing for the top. To measure the length, I started from the top portion of where I wanted the top of the dress to be, and I measured from there all the way down to where I wanted it to stop, and that's how I got my length. Now I'm folding the dress in half so that I can cut out the other side and it'll be even on both sides. Now that I have it opened up, I'm going to work on the sleeve. So I measured around the top part of my sleeve, my arm, and I am going to fold the fabric in half, and I'm using that measurement for the fabric, and I'm going to lay it on top of the dress, and I'm taking a fabric chalk and I'm going to trace out the armhole on the dress. And I'm going to cut out the portion that I traced, and I'm going to cut down to where I've measured, and that's where I want my sleeve to stop. That's the top portion of the sleeve, so I measured from the middle of my arm, my upper arm, down to my elbow, and that's where I want it to stop so that I can add the bell sleeve part to the bottom of that. Now I'm taking one of those sleeves and I'm opening it up flat, and I'm going to pin it to the side armhole, and I'm going to sew it down. And I'm doing the same thing for the other sleeve. I'm going to pin it one side to the armhole, and I'm going to sew down the sides. So now we have the sleeve attached to one side of the dress. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. We're going to pin it to the other side, to the other piece of the dress, and sew down the sides. And once you have it sewn, you'll have the sleeve connected to both the front and the back of the dress, and the sides will still be open. So now that it's attached, we're going to pin up the sides. So we're going to sew down the sleeve and around the dress, and we're going to do that to both sides. Now let's work on the bell portion of the sleeve. I have folded in half 12 inches of fabric, that's scrap fabric that I'm using, and I've taken my measuring tape and I'm measuring around that folded piece to the 12-inch mark. 12 inches all the way around, and then I'm doing 1.5 inch at the top, and I'm going to cut along that 12-inch mark on the curve. So I marked with my fabric chalk 12 inches all the way around. And now I have a half circle, and I need 3 more pieces like that. So I'm taking that piece that I cut out and I'm using it as a pattern, and I'm going to cut out my other 3 pieces. So I'm going to take 2 of those pieces and I'm going to pin them together along the sides, the flat sides that are cut out. And I am going to sew along those edges to make it a full circle, and it'll look like a bell. So now that it's sewn up, I am going to attach it to the sleeve of the dress. So we're going to point the circle portion, the half moon portion, up towards the top of the dress and the raw edges towards the bottom of the sleeve. And we're going to pin around that circle. So the hole that you created with that 1-inch cut, that is going to be the opening of the sleeve. So we're going to pin around that circle and sew around the sides and do the same thing for the other sleeve. So now that we have our bells attached to the sleeves, we are going to fold down the front portion, the top portion of the dress, and place pins around it to create a casing for the elastic that goes at the top. So fold it down 2 inches and place a pin, but leave an opening that's 2 inches in order to insert the elastic. So that's the hole right there that we created after we sewed down the top portion of the dress. And I'm using a 1-inch elastic that is 1 yard long. Now I measured my elastic by wrapping it around the top portion of my body, around my shoulders, and I subtracted 1 inch, and that made it just long enough to go around my arms and my shoulders. And I place the safety pin at the end of the elastic, and I'm going to fish it through the casing that I've created, and I'm going to go all the way around. Now once I get to the point where the end tail of that elastic is about to go all the way through, I'm going to place pins in that portion to stop it from moving so that I don't lose it inside of the casing. So keep pushing it through with the safety pin and spreading it out. Spread the fabric out so that it'll move throughout the dress. That's where I'm placing the pins so that I don't lose the tail end of that elastic. So the pins are going to hold it in place. Now that I've gotten to almost the end with the safety pin, I'm going to bring it through that hole to meet up with the tail end. So we have the beginning piece with the safety pin and the tail end that I've pinned into the dress, and I'm going to pull both of those pieces out. Take the pins away. And I'm going to overlap those pieces. Well, first I have to remove the safety pin. Overlap those pieces and zigzag stitch from top to bottom a few times, and that's going to close up the elastic. And then once it's closed up, you're going to stretch it out to put it back inside of the hole. And we're going to close up that hole using that same stretch stitch that we used before. And once we're done with that, we're going to hem the bottom. We're doing a rolled hem, folded up a 1/2 inch, and then folded another 1/2 inch. And sew as close to the edge as possible all the way around. And for the bell sleeve, we're going to fold it up 1/4 inch, a tiny, roll it up one time, 1/4 inch, and sew all the way around that circle. And do that to both sleeves. And now you are done. We have created an off-the-shoulder bell sleeve dress. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.